Welcome to You Can Do It Too, a podcast highlighting regular folks who followed their dreams and made it happen. I'm Joan Hutchinson, your restaurant maven. I've been described as a risk taker, though I never thought of myself that way. My mom always told me I could do or be whatever I wanted as long as I set my mind to it, and I believed her. I ran a successful catering company that led to owning and operating a top 10 Orange County restaurant and catering venue, prior to earning a bachelor's degree in business management and marketing. You know what I learned by going to school after all of that? You don't need a degree to accomplish your dreams. You need drive, passion, and a belief in yourself. You also need some caring folks who support you and believe in you. I didn't need a formula to tell me how to properly staff for a week. I needed common sense and a deep care for creating outstanding dining experiences for my guests. I've been coaching and consulting with salespeople and small business owners for the last few years and blogging with business advice. I just wanted to do more, to reach more of you. I decided to talk with folks I admire, who kick ass at what they do, to show you that you can do it too. The fun just keeps on going. All right, so today we're talking about courage. Emily Steuer is originally from Green Bay, Wisconsin, and currently a Door County resident. In January of 2023, she set out to attempt a through hike of Wisconsin's National Scenic Ice Age Trail, approximately 1,200 miles, in the winter. Despite her efforts, she got off the trail after 12 days. Although the epic journey did not go as expected, Steuer's fortitude has carried her to ever continue her love for songwriting, traveling, day hiking, and camping. She grew immensely from this experience and learned what might make the next trip a success. So boy, am I excited to talk with this adventurous lady. Thanks so much for agreeing to talk with me today, Emily.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Oh, there's applause. I like that.
Hey, I try. So you
The live
are an
audience.
avid, yeah, right? See? We do our best here. Oh, there it goes again. Yay. So you're an avid hiker. What is it that you like about hiking and backpacking?
Yeah, well, I guess it is a great way to connect with yourself. Especially when you're doing like solo trips, you're the only one that can have your back. So, I just love being out in nature and I love sending miles. I love pushing myself as hard as I can and just getting out there. But yeah, I'm the
Wow.
type of hiker that I'm the type of hiker that likes to go from point A to point B as fast as possible. So I spend as little time as I can at camp. So just like to
Huh.
crush miles, and I like working hard in that regard. So
Just like keep moving, huh?
yeah,
So my son and I are talking about doing the polar plunge this year. That's the most courageous winter thing I think I'd be willing to do. Taking on the Ice Age Trail, like 1,200 miles in the winter, is huge and takes some guts. I mean, I was shocked to see that somebody was going to do that. What was it that made you want to do that?
yeah. Well, it's so funny to like talk about it now because I didn't even get that far on it, but I guess like I always knew that I wanted to do a through hike, and I wanted my first through hike to be of the Ice Age Trail because I'm from Wisconsin, and I work like a seasonal job currently, so I have January through April off, and
Mm-hmm.
because of that, I just knew that I wanted to do like a through hike during that time, and I figured like if two people have done the trail before me in the wintertime, like why not try it?
Mm-hmm.
And so I prepared like a lot for it. Like it took me, I was preparing for like maybe 5 or 6 months of just gathering research on gear and winter survival tips and tricks. Because
Mm-hmm.
being out there on your own, it's like, it's any small mistake can lead to a huge disaster. Like you can get really hurt in the winter time. So I wanted to take as much time as possible to really make sure I knew what I was doing with,
Hmm.
safety and gear and everything. But yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
why I chose winter time, and
Wow.
I like to do the most insane things. So that's another reason.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah.
Holy camoly. I mean, you were sharing some of your experiences on social media when you were on the trail and you hurt
Mhm.
yourself, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that happened just because, so basically, like, what happened the first couple days on the trail, so I was doing like 20 miles a day. So right off the start I was going really hard.
mhm.
And I had a pair of boots that weren't 100% broken in. Like, I should have ran them over with my car a couple times or something because they were very stiff, honestly.
Oh my God.
And so, yeah, that abrasion led to my toe becoming infected. And then I had to make the
Mm,
decision, like, at the end of my trip, like, to take some time off to take some antibiotics and let it heal. But
mhm.
ultimately, I was like, just not feeling the drive to get back on the trail. Like, I just had so many things go wrong, I guess, on the trail that
Mhm.
something in the universe was telling me to, like, not get back on. So,
Well, I mean, it had to have been a difficult decision because you told a lot of people and you
mm,
spent all this time on it. That's tough, but the fact that you made that decision is brave in and of itself. You told everyone you were going to do this hike, and then you had to say, I'm hurt, I'm not feeling it, somebody's telling me this isn't right. I mean, that had to be hard, right? So what was it like deciding to
mm.
end the hike after that?
Yeah, well, I definitely had the thought of being like, "Oh, yeah, I kinda hyped this journey up," but at the same time, like, I I only wanna do things that in my lifetime that allow me to connect to myself, and knowing that I wasn't connecting to myself and actually becoming more disconnected, which was leading to me just feeling very sad on the trail, that
Mm,
that allowed me to make the important decision to get off, that I was hurting myself, and I don't care what people think, so
mhm.
I know that the real ones are always going to support me no matter what, and I support myself, and that's like ultimately the most important thing. Like, and everyone was so supportive and gracious after I got off the trail. Even they were like, even the amount of time that you're out there, like in the wintertime, like a solo person, like that is very difficult by itself.
Right.
And it was
Right.
one of the most
I mean, it was
challenging trips I've
12
had. Like,
days, right? 12 days.
hmm
That's
hmm
that's a long time in the winter. I mean, and it
yeah,
wasn't a warm winter.
yeah. I mean, well, actually, like, so at the beginning of my trip, I was having like some really difficult challenges with navigating weather because it's the basically, like, the temperature was, like, fluctuating pretty hardcore. Like, it was super warm, some days, like, it got up to, like, 40 degrees, and so I had to take off all of my winter gear and stuff it inside of my backpack, which made my pack weigh about, like, 50 pounds,
Oh my
and so,
gosh.
like, carrying that made was very difficult. And, the other thing I was experiencing is, like, well, the Ice Age Trail, not a lot of people know this, but it's like it I think it's almost 500 miles, 400 to 500 miles of road walks alone. And in the beginning, when you start the trail, it's like all on county roads, like not you're not going through a lot of forest until you get to like Point Beach area and then down near Kettle Moraine. So I was walking like on these roads where it's like 55 miles per hour, and I'm
Oh,
just like carrying this super heavy pack going 20 miles a day. And, I don't know, I was just like, "Man, I'm so unhappy out here." Like, I'm just hot, and then it would get really cold at night. And,
yeah.
I mean, like, you're gonna be uncomfortable when you're hiking, like, that's the thing. But there's, like, this level of discomfort that you experience when you're like, "This is just hurting." It's not comfortable or it's like,
Right.
it's not that it's supposed to be comfortable, it's just like, I felt like I was hurting my
Right.
mental state.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So what advice would you give to someone who's planning a long hike?
Well, I guess, like, there's definitely a difference between like winter hiking and then 3 season hiking. 3 season hiking is like or it's just a different, I mean, it's just a different animal. Like 3 season hiking, you don't have to like you have to adapt to a lot, but winter hiking is insane because any misstep can lead to dangerous situations
Right.
oh, your water froze because you didn't like store it properly in your pack upside down in a insulated like water bottle holder, or your stakes broke, or like you have to be very prepared. So for hikes, like I mean, just to start out for planning a hike, like I recommend using the Far Out app. That's what I used for the Ice Age Trail, but it pretty much gives you guidelines for like places where you can resupply and camping spots, and so you can kind of calculate the mileage that you need to go in between like each waypoint that you're stopping at, if that makes sense. So like that's a really good resource for planning like a long hike. If because I've done hikes on the Ice Age Trail before, like I've done section hikes, and that's I've always
Hmm.
just used that to like plan my mileage and how many days and kind of loosely follow that. But you have to have a plan, but you have to also be always prepared to throw that plan out. That's just always my piece of advice. So
So make sure that you're
yeah,
ready to be flexible.
exactly. You have to be adaptable when hiking for
Okay.
sure. Anything can happen, literally.
Right. So since you've been back, tell us about what has been taking up your time. You've been
Yeah, I guess
traveling, right?
yeah, I got off the trail and then I was like, well, I'm just gonna have the best break ever now after I got off. And so I went to a cabin out in Minnesota for a couple days, and I worked on some music out there. It was just like a tiny little cabin with a lofted bed. I just went out
Mhm.
there by myself and had some time in nature just to reflect on kind of everything that just happened, because it was kind of like, I wouldn't say it was traumatic, but it was definitely like a difficult like thing to get off. And
Right.
so yeah, I just had found some peace out there a little bit, and then I've been going to um I went to Minneapolis for a little bit. I've been going to Chicago, went to Los Angeles. So
Nice.
just been in a
And
healthy routine and just feeling connected to myself, like that's what life is about, is connecting yourself out of or connecting to yourself and feeling self-love. So that's what I've been
right.
feeling. So yeah.
Nice. I like that message. I mean, it's so very, very important to take care of yourself because you need to know that you love yourself. You got your own back um, first before you can really, kick it up a notch and get out there and make stuff happen.
Yeah. And that's like the other thing I wanted to mention about like why I love hiking so much is I mean, you have to have your own back, but like something that's really really cool is when you're hiking, like how many supportive people you meet along the way. And especially on the Ice Age Trail, like I was only out there for 12 days, but I met so many people who were like beyond generous and helpful, and like let me stay at their house or gave me
Wow.
rides and like bought me food. And it's just like you can allow people to be kind and just be present in that moment with them and be, full of gratitude. And I think that's like one of my favorite things is like you push your boundaries, you step outside of your comfort zone, and you have to like trust other people sometimes. And hiking, you have to use your best intuition with who you're trusting or not, but you just end up meeting some really cool people. Like I'm still friends with some of the people that I met while out there, and I've seen them a couple times, and like it's just yeah, it's a really awesome community. And through for hiking, some people don't even know what you're doing, and they're part of this community that they don't even know that they're part of,
Uh-huh. That is very cool. You have such a great attitude.
Yeah, you have to. Otherwise, it's like you got to be flexible with everything you do. Otherwise, you'll just end up being sad.
Yeah. So you write songs and do you perform
Hmm.
them as well?
Yeah, so yeah, I perform quite frequently during the year. I think this year I'm playing a little less shows just because I'm focusing on recording a little bit more, but yeah, I play shows every once in a while. I'm just like a solo artist, so I do
Hmm.
guitar and singing, but with recording, I do a lot of like layering in my songs with flute and like percussion instruments, and I've
Hmm.
been working with some friends on some songs recently. But yeah, I guess I define or describe my music as like alternative folk in a way, because it's like kind of new
Alternative.
agey, but
Okay.
yeah. But hiking has definitely like brought some cool songs out. You know, when you're out there, like your mind's just so open, like you're thinking about everything. Sometimes you're thinking about nothing, and that can really inspire songwriting.
That is very cool. I like how that they affect each other, right? The how the hiking
Yeah.
affects your songwriting in such a positive way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. When you're out there, you're kind of just like, I guess I'm just gonna write some lyrics now. Like after looking at that bush, that looked so inspiring, you know.
Well, you said that that you really had to not only count on yourself, but you had to be able to trust people that offered you help. Was that a hard thing to learn? Do you automatically have that in you? I mean, you sound like a very self aware person.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, like when I've never had any sketchy like experiences out on the trail at all, or I mean, actually I've had a couple, but nothing too bad. But I mean, like you just kind of like, I don't know, people just have like auras about them, you know, where you're just like this person is being genuine, and usually it's turned out good for me. And yeah, people are just so nice. They see you with like a backpack and they're like, I just want to help this person. Like even if I don't need help, it's just like anything they want to give me, like they'll, and it's cool too. Like I found that I talked to a bunch of people about the Ice Age Trail that had never even heard about it. And I think honestly, that's like another reason why I'm not upset about like getting off the trails, because I drew a lot of attention towards the trail. And that's
Hmm.
like, the trail was never like about me or like anybody who's ever hiked it. It's about like the trail itself. It's about community. And like I volunteered on the Ice Age Trail since getting off the trail, and the people that work to build the trail and make it what it is are like what matter. And yeah, so I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just like that's why the trail itself is so magical. It kind of like always provides. And
Uh-huh. And it
yeah.
creates a sense of community even when you're out there by yourself.
Yeah, you kind of, I mean, like, yeah, it especially where I started. So it's like the trail is broken up into the eastern portion and then the central portion and then the western. And I started on the east at Potawatomi State Park in Sturgeon Bay. And
Hmm.
that area, it's like it's not very remote. Like it goes through a lot of like bigger towns, especially when you get south towards like Milwaukee and Janesville. But I've hiked like the western portions before, starting at the western terminus in St. Croix Falls, and that area is like so insanely beautiful. But I've hiked about like 400 miles like west to east out there, so I've
Hmm.
section hiked like a big portion of it, and that area is extremely remote. Like it's actually insane how if something happened out there, like you might not be able to get help, and there's not a lot of cell service. And yeah, not a lot of people know like
Wow.
how remote it is up there, but if you look at the trail on the app, like you can just see that there's like barely any resupply points. And I had to, when I was still planning on like doing the whole trail, I called ahead to a bunch of places and was like, can I send some like resupply packages to your restaurant or your bar, like because I'm just gonna,
Uh-huh.
you just there's no grocery stores in the area. And I arranged a ton of rides and I communicated with all the chapter coordinators, and like so everyone knew like I was coming through. But then so yeah, you have to be very organized. Like when you have to look, I looked at every single section on the map, like mile to mile, to figure out like where resupply was going to happen. And
I
yeah.
would never even, I mean, obviously, I'm not a hiker, but I would never even think about those things. So that, I mean, you obviously, you obviously did the work. You kind of knew what you were in for. I mean, at least for
Yeah.
preparing.
Yeah, you have to really think ahead, like for through hikes specific. I mean, like for any like long section hike, but yeah, I was only really trying to carry like 5 days worth of food at a time, and so I figured out like how am I gonna get to like a gas station, how am I gonna get to a grocery store, and um along the eastern part of the trail, there's like a lot more gas stations, but there's still some times where I didn't see one for like 25 miles or 30, and I had what I had on me, and
Wow.
you know,
That's
yeah,
when you need
winter.
those
There were some
bars,
days where
right? Those little light bars
yeah,
that'll
but
hold you over.
yeah, and then but like I dealt with some days in the winter where it was like while hiking out there, where it's like your food's frozen, so you have to like keep it inside of your jacket, like against your body to just even make sure it's like warm. And same with your water filter, like everything has to, you have to be very intentional about like the way you store everything. And like I mean I wasn't even in the mine, I wasn't even at 0 degrees or anything, and it was still like my stuff was freezing.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, I mean, the like there's two people who did the trail in full, and I heard that two other people are doing the trail. I don't know if they finished it this year, but there's two other women that were doing the Ice Age Trail this winter. So,
Mm,
but yeah, Emily Ford and Mike Summers, they did the trail before me. Or I mean, I didn't do the trail, but like they actually finished it.
hmm
And I talked to both of them, and they had some really, really good advice for winter. Um, Backpacking. Their stories are worth checking out for sure. I mean, like, Emily Ford is like a huge inspiration to me. She's awesome.
Wow. I have a friend whose dad started hiking after he retired. He was in his 70s and he hiked the Appalachian Trail. Um, and he was so funny when I talked to him. He kind of sounded like you. You said, I mean, it's hard or it's not supposed to be fun. He kind of had the same attitude. He was like, I just, I, I just wanted to finish. I said, what
Yeah,
did you like best about it? Well, I liked getting it done.
yeah. A lot of people like said this to me, which actually like made me feel so much better when I was out there. They just said you have to embrace the suck. That's what they say, because it's like it's gonna suck. Like that's just the reality of it. Like it's not always super fun. Like there's days where you're just gonna be walking on a road for 20 miles or 22 miles and just dying, and but you just have to embrace it. It's all part of like the trail, you know.
Wow. Well, Emily, you are an inspiration. I love your attitude. You really um, inspire me to work more on um, loving myself and knowing who I am and not being afraid to take on a challenge. I mean, that's a huge challenge that you took on, and you made it through 12 days in the winter. That is an
Yeah.
accomplishment.
Yeah, I think
Um,
I went around 140 miles total.
oh
If
my
I can't really remember total, but I crushed what I could, you know. I wasn't backing down.
I love it. So I will share any info that you have on your music so that our listeners
Hmm.
can listen in on what you're doing now. And I definitely appreciate you sharing your story with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me on. It's
Uh,
yeah, it's been a long time coming. We started talking in January, I think. So,
Yeah, yeah, we did. And then, we gotta love these technical difficulties I've been experiencing, but
oh
it
yeah.
has been a long time coming. I'm super glad we finally made it happen.
Yeah. I guess I would
All right.
I guess I would say if anybody ever wants to do a hike, just go for it. Just take that time off of work. It's going to be memorable. And if you have any questions, hit me up on Instagram or something.
Awesome. And they'll definitely have a story to tell, right?
Yeah. Cool.
So thanks again for joining me. Thanks to Chris Hutchinson for producing this and all my episodes. Why am I doing this podcast? Because it's important to me that you know we all have it in us to succeed. My guests weren't born into royalty. They're normal people like you and me who saw an opportunity and ran with it. New episodes are posted every other Sunday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. So make sure you like and subscribe for access to all my content. And if you're looking for more specific help with your restaurant business, go to www.yourrestaurantmaven.com, read my blog, and connect with me for coaching and consulting opportunities. Thanks again, and we will see you next time.